So the video that you're about to watch is a video on following your true life purpose, your unique destiny that you are here on earth to fulfill. Now, the way that this is structured, and I actually didn't have any structure going in, but the way that this is structured is I will tell you my personal story of following my true life purpose for the last 6 years. It's been fucking crazy, as you are about to see. But what I want you to realize is that this is not supposed to be a narcissistic rant. What this is supposed to show you is actually what happens when you decide to follow your bliss and what you are truly supposed to do here on this earth. Sit back, relax, enjoy the fucking video. I believe it can be truly life-changing if you are interested in following your true purpose. We're also going to get into how you can connect to it and actually find out what it is. But if you sit through this, I believe it's going to change a lot for you. It has a potential to actually make you live your fucking dreams. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you in the video. So this is going to be a video about living your unique destiny, fulfilling the mission that you came here on this earth to fulfill. Now, this has probably been the main focus of my life for the last 6 years or so, maybe 7 or 8, been in this for a long time. But what I can tell you from experience over the last several years is that, first of all, you have a mission, you have a destiny to fulfill. That's probably the biggest one. The second of all is that if you choose to follow it, even though things are not going to be easy, I want to make that clear from the very beginning, what's going to happen is that you will be supported in it. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to this conclusion. And just to be clear, to preface this is not a fucking whiteboard video, okay? There is no real structure. I speak from the heart, I speak from experience. I just really try to relay the lessons that I have learned to you so that hopefully your journey is going to be a little bit more graceful than mine, because although, I've had amazing mentors, shout out, it's not been easy, okay? This journey has taken me to hell several times, my personal hell, okay? This is also key. Hell doesn't necessarily have to be objective hell, it's just in your own mind. It has also taken me to heaven, and we're gonna get into that, okay? So why I even want to make this video to begin with is that when I was 18, okay, this is kind of the point where most people kind of decide what they want to do with their life. Really, most people have no fucking clue, and it's way too early. But for me, I was already pretty sure what direction I wanted to go in. I wanted to be a social anxiety coach. I had absolutely no qualifications. I just had spent the last 3 years fixing that area of my life for myself. So I was like, I want to help other people, and I want to make money online, okay? I wanted to travel the world, which I later got to do. Amazing stuff. But I started out basically giving $3,000 away, or paying $3,000 for a online mentoring on how to do that, okay? And I can tell you, once my parents found out about that, they weren't happy. And they were even less happy when they found out that I didn't plan to go study, okay? And just do this weird shit, all right? So why I want to give you this example right away is that I want to make very clear that if you follow this path, okay, if you choose to live your unique destiny, there will be challenges, okay? In fact, not only are there going to be challenges, your worst fears, your absolute worst case scenarios are probably going to happen to you. But the key realization, this is what I got, not only from that challenge, that was the very first one of a lot of challenges, okay? But what I got is that these challenges that will happen to you unequivocally, okay? It's not just going to be you following your bliss, although I'm a huge Joseph Campbell fan. It's not just going to be following your highest excitement like the alien would tell you, okay? Personally, I'm not really into Bashar, but a lot of people like him, right? But come on, bro. Who wouldn't want to learn from an alien, okay? You gotta do it, okay? You gotta learn from the alien. But anyway, okay. It's not just going to be you following your highest excitements. There is going to be a fuck ton of challenges, and in fact, they're going to be the worst ones for you, your own personal hell. But the key realization is that even though, and disapproval from my parents to that extent for me at that time was the absolute worst thing that I could have imagined. I felt like in a constant fucking anxiety attack for like several months, okay? And what you will realize is that these challenges are actually, although they look on the surface like they're meant to block your ascension, like they're blocking you from where you want to go, what you will actually realize is that they are the very things that are helping you on your path of ascension, of following your unique destiny. Because what they're going to do is they're going to trigger the blockage points that would block you from going where you want to go, okay? The fears, the insecurities, the traumas that you have suppressed that you're not aware of currently, they'll bring them out for you to go into conscious non-resistance to what is being brought up emotionally, and thus you transform it, you transmute it, you transcend it. I've made other videos about that. I'll probably make a lot of other videos about that in the future. But first thing to realize is there is going to be a fuck ton of challenges if you do what you're truly here to do. But realize that the challenges are actually there to help you further on your path, okay? And what you will realize on the other end is that, yes, you actually want to follow your bliss. You actually want to follow your highest excitement in a way. But the weird thing about that is that if you've ever noticed this, the best advice is oftentimes also the worst advice, okay? I think that the vast majority of people who are following their highest excitement are completely fucking up their life, and I've definitely fallen into that as well. I'll probably get into it, we'll see. And also, it simply doesn't give you the entire perspective that you would need for actually following your true purpose. It is a part of it, but it's not the entire story. Because on the one hand, it's challenges, and the other side, which we're going to get into, is surrender, all right? Because you're not always aware of what your highest path actually is, and you might actually have to go with what life, God is asking you to do, with what life is kind of doing in front of you, even though it looks to your ego like the exact opposite of what you would actually want. But we're going to get into that, okay? So either way, following your bliss, like Joseph Campbell, okay, the OG Joseph Campbell, who later, by the way, after he saw the damage that was done with that statement, also a lot of good, obviously, but later on in his life, he is reported to have said, he wished that he would have said, follow your blisters, okay, just to emphasize the effort that is also involved in you following your true purpose. But if you choose to follow your bliss, that is one of your guidance systems, okay? There are several, but one of them is just where your natural inclinations go, okay? Where your natural interests lie, what you truly want to build from your core, all right? What truly excites you to the depths of your being. And I can tell you stories of how I have been supported in doing this that you probably wouldn't believe me. I'm still going to tell you because I feel kind of obligated to. I'll probably tell them in other videos too, but hey, you can choose to believe me, you can choose to not believe me. That's your thing. It's what happened to me, okay? So a couple of years deep into my social anxiety coaching journey, well, first of all, the first travel trip that I ever did, okay, my goal always was to become kind of a digital nomad with that stuff. Obviously help people, but selfishly, why I did it was because I wanted to fucking travel and make online money, okay? So the first trip that I did, also, by the way, having no idea how the money was actually going to come in. I had a couple of clients at the time, a little sales job, which I could earn a little bit of money from, but I didn't have any real financial security at the time. I just made the fucking leap to be like, at 19, I'll go to fucking Mexico and I'll figure shit out. And the big inspiration, I want to give a shout out to this book, was The Journey Home by Radhanath Swami, okay? This book, for whatever reason, it doesn't get read, maybe because it honestly, I feel like it almost, what it suggests or what it proves to you is so beautiful that most people just can't resonate with that yet. That sounds a little bit arrogant because it's like, I could resonate with that at 19, right? But, you know, I honestly think that because what he did at 19 was even crazier than me. He literally just hitchhiked from London, England to India and became a wandering monk there with no money at all. And after I read that book, I also had an amazing mentor at the time helping me, who, by the way, I also, before making the decision to book the flight to Mexico, I made the commitment to pay 3.5K for him to mentor me. It was totally worth it, okay, Valentin? You're a legend, you know? If you have, well, no, I don't think he does that anymore. He's focused on other things, doing bigger, better things. But in any case, I also had an amazing mentor, but I had financial commitments. I had no idea how I was going to make it, but I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Long story short, I traveled through Mexico. By the end of it, I talked about in the last video, I'm in a fucking penthouse, okay? I didn't pay for it. My buddy paid for it, but it was still pretty fucking awesome, okay? I paid for all the rest, obviously, for all the rest of that travel trip for 3.5 months. But it worked out, okay? And I also paid off my mentor. So you are supported. That is the first story. But that is nothing, okay? I'm gonna give you the second one, which is my trip to Egypt, all right? And if this doesn't prove it to you that you're supported in doing what you truly want to do, and not even what you truly want to do, but what you're truly called to do, because this is what most people get wrong, and what the follow your bliss and follow your highest excitement crowd often doesn't get. It's not really about what you feel like doing from your ego. You have to truly discern between your soul desires, and this is a whole nother video, but between your soul desires, what you and your core self truly want, and what your ego wants, what feels good to the small self, and what would kind of just be hedonistically pleasurable, or what would raise your status, what would kind of just feel good from there, okay? So anyway, Egypt, okay? I make the same decision. Also, I make a similar decision while not necessarily having financial security that I'm gonna fucking travel Egypt. By the way, what I like to do whenever I make decisions like this, and you can try this for yourself, I don't even really want to encourage this because it's kind of fucking crazy, but even if I don't know how exactly I'm going to figure it out, I just like to tell everybody around me that I'm going to do something. Even if I have no money, I have no idea how it's going to work out. If I truly feel like I'm being called to do something, again, not from the small self, but from the big self, I'll do anything, okay? Like, I literally don't give a fuck. And first of all, the realization that I came to at that point was that I had to fucking leave, okay? After Mexico, I fell off a scooter. I had to move back in with my parents, okay? And I just felt like I had to fucking leave. I had to go away, okay? And at first I thought I was going to go to Peru. But then, and this is one of the ways that I truly, truly believe, and you want to be careful with this, because after going deeper into Jungian psychology and Jungian dream analysis, I've kind of changed the way I view these things. But dreams are really a way that your higher self can communicate with you. Now, you want to be careful with this, because although they're with my strong, firm decision to leave and to go to some fucking country, whether it's Peru or Egypt, at that point I thought it was going to be Peru, my dream told me to go to Egypt, okay? I had repeating dreams of me traveling Egypt, going to Egypt, that there was something there for me, and that really changed my mind when it came to this. Now, the nuance here is that dreams, vast majority of the time, they're symbolical, okay? You can look up The Way of the Dream with Marie-Louise von Franz, who was one of Carl Jung's main co-workers, okay? It's a great introduction to Jungian dream analysis. 10-hour documentary, but totally worth it, okay? So what you'll learn there, what they'll teach you in Jungian analysis, Jungian psychology, is that dreams largely are symbolical, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just telling you exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And that was one of them for me, okay? And this is gonna come around to really showing you that you can do what you are truly called to do, because I was supported in the most insane situation you can imagine, okay? So I also, while having absolutely no money, I make the commitment to, well, I booked the flight. By the way, didn't have the money for an Airbnb. I randomly got it as a gift, okay, to the money to book my first Airbnb for the first month. Totally unexpected. I didn't know that that was coming, but grandma came through. It's hilarious how these things work, because, you know, it's not really the most heroic thing that my grandma randomly gave me money, but I had booked the flight. I was literally ready to go homeless there. Like, that's how committed I was. It's kind of insane. I don't necessarily even want to encourage you to do this, but it just goes to show that you are supported. But grandma fucking came through and gave me like $200 or whatever. And Egypt is pretty inexpensive. So I had the money to get the Airbnb for the first month, all right? So later on, after having been there for like 2 months, I again am running out of money, okay? And I also had made the commitment to myself to truly, at this point, not do anything anymore that isn't actually an expression of what I truly want to do. Now, I also learned again in Egypt more to discern between what it is that my true self, the big I, wants, not the small me. But that was my commitment, okay? And I was at a point again where I was in Luxor, okay, Luxor, whatever you pronounce it in English, but amazing city, by the way, great temples. But I made another video, incredible video, my channel trailer in front of the Luxor temple. That one was crazy, okay, highly recommend. But anyway, I make the decision that I just have to travel to Abu Simbel. I also made a video from there. So there was no fucking choice, even though I was running out of money. So I booked the fucking train ticket, okay? I actually give my last money, and I don't even like saying this, but it's just to illustrate the point. I gave some of my last money to a guy there that was really nice to me, okay? And I just felt like he really deserved it. He was in a tough situation. Later on, I found out he bought some weed with it. Anyway, that's the outcome wasn't necessarily the best, right? But anyway, I give some of my last money to this guy, spend the last money that I have after that on a fucking train ticket to Aswan, from which I can go to Abu Simbel. So there, again, a client pays me randomly, okay? I didn't fucking know that was going to happen. I can pay my Airbnb with that. Also, that happened pretty magically, that I just got a place to stay. I arrived super late at night. Technically nothing was open, and the taxi driver actually made a mistake. I told him to drive me to the McDonald's. He drove me to the KFC. I kind of saw that as a sign to go to the island that's in the middle of the Nile, in the middle of, it's called, what's it called? Elephantine Island? I'm not sure. Anyway, the Nubians live there, okay, if you want to look it up. So randomly, super randomly, the guy that runs the ferry, his dad runs kind of a place to stay for people. And although nothing was there for me to stay, again, I was kind of ready to go homeless. I just thought that I was going to get a hotel somehow. But I get a room from that guy, okay, and from that guy's dad. Next day, the client pays me. I get the money for it. Then I go to Abu Simbel with absolutely no money, okay? Get a fucking hotel room. Go see the temples. The guy at the temples randomly lets me in without paying him because I didn't have the money to pay him, but still lets me in somehow. I shoot a video. I go back to the hotel. No idea how I'm going to get back, okay? But I was kind of getting into the law of attraction at the time and the law of assumption. So I was like, maybe I'm just going to assume the outcome that I want, okay? So I packed my fucking bag out of the hotel room. By the way, I haven't paid yet, and they didn't have my passport, but I haven't paid yet. So I have no idea how that's going to happen. But, oh, yeah, I also, randomly, what actually happened the day before, that's how I got the money, I just remembered. I got a commission payout from my sales job, literally the last second. But, however, I couldn't get cash because PayPal held my money. So I go to the fucking reception, no idea how I'm going to pay, no idea how I'm going to get on the bus. So I'm just kind of sitting there. The manager comes and is like, send me the money on booking.com, okay? Just book it and you can pay with PayPal. So that worked out. Next thing, I actually get on the bus randomly because the guy just liked me because of my energy. To be honest, I was in a pretty fucking high energy state at that point. I was like, holy shit, this is working out. Okay, I couldn't believe, okay? And the last thing is going to be even more amazing, which really fucking hammered this home for me. So the guy pays my fucking bus ticket. I'm on the bus. A guy that I borrowed money from to get the first bus because I didn't have money for that either. Fucking insane, dude. But I tell him like, dude, I have no idea how I got in here. Don't ask me. And then I sit there in the bus, and the only thought that's on my mind, was like, this has been fucking amazing. The only thing that was missing is I'm kind of fucking thirsty, okay? I'm kind of getting dehydrated. I kind of would want a 1.5 liter water bottle. And I shit you not, like a minute after I had that thought, a dude who worked at the hotel comes to me with what? A big fucking water bottle. It's like, here you go. Our boss liked you so much, you can have it. And in that moment, I was like, God, I believe, okay? This is all the proof I need, right? Yeah, so that has, among other things, and that has probably been the biggest moment. So the Egypt trip, the Mexico trip, how I also got back from there, that's a whole other story. I'm probably going to tell that in another video. But that has led me to the strong belief that if you make the commitment to surrender to what you are truly here to do, okay, and again, not from the small self, but from the big self, you will be supported. Now, I want to crack into a little bit how to discern the small self motivation and where the follow your bliss and follow your highest excitement people often go wrong from the big self motivation, okay? Your higher self, if you want to call it that, or God's will for your life, whatever the fuck you want to call it, okay? So the first thing is you want to make sure that you're actually connected to your presence, to the now. People like Eckhart Tolle teach this. My personal favorite Eastern philosophy text is the Tao Te Ching, okay? The Tao Te Ching. It's written T-A-O, okay? If you want to look it up. I actually like to listen to a version that is on YouTube, okay? You can look it up right now. I fucking dare you. Again, I already dared people in the last video, but look it up. It's read by the OG Wayne Dyer. He has like the perfect voice for it. It's amazing, okay? And what that will teach you is to get out of the way, to get the small self out of the way so that the big self can shine through. And the core of it is literally just get present to the moment. Learn how to still your mind. Let go of, and the Buddhists would teach this. You can read the Dhammapada. Probably, well, it's actually the only text, not the only text, but the main text that I've gotten into when it comes to Buddhism. Gonna be a lot more in the future, I believe. But what they would teach you, what the Buddha would tell you is that you want to release, on the one hand, desire, and on the other hand, fear, because those are the main driving forces of your ego. He doesn't, I believe he doesn't say the word ego. He might, I'm not entirely sure, but that's kind of the Eckhart Tolle way of saying it. In real psychology, by the way, the ego is actually something that you want to have, but that's just a side point, okay? It's kind of confusing. The language here gets kind of confusing, but kind of the spiritual woo-woo crowd, if you use ego in that way, or kind of not even just the derogatory term of the woo-woo crowd, also the very legit spiritual teachers, they oftentimes use the word ego, okay? But the main driving forces are desire, resistance, and you want to, instead of being identified with either one of them, center yourself in the middle point. Again, simple meditation can do this. My personal favorite is actually coming out here into nature, okay? Because I kind of believe this is, I almost see it as God's artwork, okay? So it's like in the midst of God's creation and in silence, in the silence of the forest, like they like to call it, it's a lot easier to hear your true intuition and what you're truly supposed to do. Whereas in the city, I mean, you're constantly surrounded with not only ego-driven people, God bless their heart. I'm ego-driven a lot of times, okay? So I'm not trying to like judge the speck in my brother's eye and have a plank in my own eye. Don't, like, believe me, I have my fucking ego, okay? Go on embarrassing ego trips, okay? And mind identified all of that shit. But the way to get out of it, in my view, is one of the main ones is to go into nature, okay? Because in the city, you're not only surrounded by other angry and ego-driven fucking narcissistic people induced by social media, you're also surrounded by fucking social media, by advertisement. Everything is fucking designed to get you away from your true intuition and to keep you trapped in your small self. That's why I also don't like whiteboard videos, because although I like a lot of the people doing whiteboard videos, personally, I can't watch whiteboard videos anymore. Like, I've spent way too much time in school already to spend a minute more watching somebody in front of a fucking board. Okay, anyway, that's my rant, okay? That's why I do videos in the forest, right? Because I also feel like this kind of transmits, and this sounds fucking woo-woo, but it does transmit a different kind of energy, okay? So connecting to your true self in the midst of God's creation, but inwardly what you want to do is release desire, resistance, go into the middle point of the present moment. Again, Eckhart Tolle, Tao Te Ching, maybe Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the Bible is an incredible book on this as well. The Gospels specifically. I mean, unfortunately, very misunderstood, I feel like, because you almost have to read Eckhart Tolle first before you can truly understand what Jesus said. Okay, and I'm not claiming that I have understood everything. I mean, I've read the Gospels a fuck ton of time, but I still reread them sometimes, and I'm like, I've never read this line before. This is crazy. I remember one time in Assisi, funny enough, right, how this happens. In Assisi, I randomly, in a Christian hotel, which I randomly checked into, opened the Bible to a random passage in Luke, and it was the one where he's with Mary and Martha, the two sisters, in their house, and Martha is busy, and this actually relates to what we were talking about, right? But Martha is busy with all of the preparations, and Mary sits in front of him, listening to him, and you can see how deeply this has even affected me, because I start crying even saying this. And by the way, when I really realized what he was saying, I cried for like 15 minutes straight. But Mary sits in front of him, and Martha comes to Jesus and says, "Why aren't you telling her to help me?" And Jesus goes, Martha, you're worried about many things, but only few things are needed. Or indeed only one. And Mary has found it, and it will not be taken from her. And I believe this is the correct response. What you're seeing right now, this is the only correct response to reading that and really understanding it, because what it's saying is, like we said before, the fucking shit that we're trapped in and what's trying to get you disconnected from your true purpose, which you find in connecting to your higher self, to your true nature, which is what Jesus is referring to. It's not a fucking narcissistic cult leader. Maybe it was, but I don't think so. Yeah, the opposite, in fact. But it's not a narcissistic cult leader. It's the energy that I was referring to, that you also have access to in your own, probably a lot smaller way, right? You're not the Christ. I'm neither. I mean, I can open my hair and look pretty similar, but I also got to grow my beard more in order to do that. But that single point is what it's referring to, okay? That energy that flows from you if you get really present and grounded in the now. And from there, that is the only thing that truly matters. And if you make the decision to live from there, I can guarantee you, you will be supported. Now, the danger with it, okay, and this is the fucking danger that I fell into after my Egypt trip, because I also went, after Egypt, I went to Jordan, okay, which was a fucking dumpster fire, okay? We're quickly gonna refer to the hell that I got into so that you hopefully won't have to do that. Maybe you'll have to, okay? It's had a lot of lessons for me, let's just say that. But the danger here is that the ego comes in through the back door, okay? After that Abu Simbel story that I told you about, I was fucking flying, okay? I literally thought like, holy shit, anything is possible. I can do anything, which is not true, okay? You cannot. Okay? You're not the one that can do anything. What can do anything is when the ego goes out, like Meister Eckhart says, when the I goes out, where the I goes out, God goes in. Wo das Ich ausgeht, geht Gott ein. He spoke Middle High German, that was normal German, but anyway, right? So that, if you're connected to that one point and what flows from there, then you can do anything, because what basically happens is you are surrendered to what the whole wants to do, what is the purpose of the whole, and so your actions are supported. Okay, the Tao Te Ching calls it, or says that your actions become those of nature, your ways those of heaven. And in that state, yes, you will be supported, but only as long as you truly stay in that state, okay? Because what will happen, probably if you've had an experience and we're kind of flying high, what's going to happen is that the ego is going to come in and be like, I can do anything, which is not true, okay? And I fell hard, okay? I was like fucking Icarus. I flew too closely to the sun and I crashed down, okay? Because in Jordan, what happened to me, and I'm not proud of this, okay? Like, I'm only saying that you're gonna lose respect for me probably, but I'm only saying this so that hopefully you're not going to do this, or and you're not gonna have something like this happen to you. Please don't lose respect. You probably will, but anyway, I feel obligated to kind of say it. I ran out of money again because I was coming from ego. Really the right thing, I believe, what would have been the right thing was probably just to go back to Germany and figure things out from there. But I was like, I'm gonna keep traveling. I'm gonna fucking, I didn't think that I was forcing it, but I was forcing it, okay? I went out of flow, I went into control, and this is the key. And you will learn how to discern this more and more. It's a fucking process, okay? I'm definitely not perfect with it, but we're all fucking learning, all right? So the ego came in through the back door and was like, I'm gonna keep traveling, okay? So I ran out of money again, and instead of maybe at that point even staying tapped in and having faith, I went into bad control, okay? And what I did, and by the way, I made up with the guy. I told him after, I gave him free coaching, okay? So we're actually friends now. So just to be clear, I didn't fucking just, anyway, I mean, I have to tell you first. So I took a bit of money. It wasn't a lot. It was like, in total, probably like $60 I took off of a client's credit card, which he owed me actually, but I took it off way earlier than we had agreed upon, okay? So later, I think I took off even more than we had agreed upon. But anyway, I think it was like $160 in total or something. He actually owed me. We had made a deal, but I didn't fulfill the payment plan. Okay, and I told him this again. I didn't just fucking take the money and run. Okay, I told him this, gave him free coaching. We're all cool now. I'm just telling you this so you see what happens when you go into control. Okay, so I take the money because I think that from the ego, I felt like I'm not supported. And by the way, funny enough, the guy, during the entire time, again, I was almost completely out of money, but hilariously, I always was in situations where food was always given to me. You know, even the Airbnb that I mainly stayed in, randomly, and the guy even told me this, he never cooks for the people that stay in his Airbnb. But for me, he literally cooked me 2 meals a day. Totally random. I don't fucking know, okay? But again, it actually goes to show that even if you go out of alignment, you're still loved in a way, you know? Like, you may have to get a harsh beating, but you're still gonna be supported, okay? Because I believe everybody can be redeemed, all right? So, yeah, anyway, I did that. And then on the last night, also, I didn't have any money to fly back to Germany, but I had, funny enough, I was so crazy in the mode that where I thought that I could just do anything, that I told the taxi driver that he should just come pick me up, okay? So even though I had no money to pay him, and they hadn't even booked the flight yet. But anyway, I just told him this. I thought that I was going to just close somebody that I had a call with. When it went into massive scarcity on the call as well, the guy kind of ended up hating me. He's actually Christian. He might have forgiven me. I hope so. Okay, I'm sorry, bro. But I like really tried to hard sell him in a situation where I just shouldn't have done it. I should have just let go. But what happened then is the next day I had to send the taxi driver back because I didn't close. But the next day I fucking randomly look at my bank account, and I could swear to God that this hadn't been there before, but I randomly saw the feature. I can go into the minus with my bank account, and that's how I booked the flight back, paid the taxi driver, and made it back to fucking Germany, okay? And that's how the odyssey happened. But hilariously, the lesson here for you is also, I think that you can take from this, is that a state of consciousness can only create more of what it already is, okay? And the manifestation people, although God knows I don't agree with everything they're saying, they're actually right about this, okay? Because I was in a state of massive scarcity, but in a weird way, I still had faith that I was going to go back to Germany. So the way that it manifests, and in a way you could also say it's just a gift from God, to be honest, but by a way of looking at it, it manifested, but creating more scarcity, right? I had to go into debt. And then after that, I went into even deeper debt, okay? Because I just kind of had to go into hell before I realized, well, maybe don't follow your bliss from your ego, but do it from actually connect to, again, what you just saw me cry about, okay? That's what you want to connect to, all right? And even read the Bible. Read the Sermon on the Mount is probably the best starting point, but read the Gospels and see what it does to you. John chapter 15 is another favorite of mine. Probably it's first the Sermon on the Mount, second John chapter 15, if I had to choose something that I can only read over and over again, because there Jesus talks about, again, that being tapped into that is where things get really good. Okay, I'm just going to say that. And what he literally says in that chapter is that if you stay tapped in, you can ask from God whatever you want, and it will be given to you. Now, again, the key is this is not what you want from your small self, but from your higher self, which again you access by going into fucking nature and looking at a tree and reading the Holy Scripters. Doesn't have to be Jesus. I highly recommend it. Okay, I think anybody should fucking read it. Just like I think anybody should read the Bhagavad Gita or the Dhammapada or the Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching is my favorite Eastern philosophy. But anyway, I'm not trying to recruit you into a fucking cult, okay? This is just kind of the danger with the Christian stuff, unfortunately, because there's such incredible texts, okay? Like literally, the light of God just shines through them and fucking penetrates you. How you know it penetrates you is you start fucking crying, okay? Because it literally is like, you realize how dumb the ego things that you have been involved in are, and you connect to what is truly you. And it's almost like there's a discharge of that negative energy that happens there. So in any case, I hope what this gave to you, and I hope you don't just interpret this as me going on a rant about my little story. What this really is meant to do for you is just kind of give you tangible examples of what you can expect when you truly make the commitment to follow your bliss, okay, your true purpose, again, which you also access by first tapping into the present moment and tapping into the now. Eckhart Tolle in A New Earth calls this your primary purpose, okay? Your primary purpose is to connect to who you truly are through deep inner presence. And then your secondary, this is the key, okay? This is, without this, whatever you're doing, retarded, okay? It's gonna come to a fucking end. Jesus in John 15 says, if you don't stay tapped into this, he calls it being connected to the vine. If you don't stay tapped into it, you're gonna be like a branch that is cut off, thrown into the fire, and burned, okay? So, and I can guarantee you, you will be burned, okay? You can it's kind of what I just told you, right? It's like, like going into debt, can't even pay, like my parents at the time were kind of allowing me to live there for like very little rent. I couldn't even pay them rent. I was lying to them. Horrible. Please don't lose respect for me. We like each other again now, all right? So it's like, anyway, but you will, and literally months of just anxiety, being trapped in the most intense anxiety attacks you can imagine, just waking up every day, almost wishing that I was back asleep again, you know. I had the context to kind of be able to see it as still a challenge for being more present, but it was horrible, okay? You will be, if you don't stay tapped into this, if you go into ego too much, you will be cut off, thrown into the fire, and burned. But the beautiful thing is that Meister Eckhart says this in one of his speeches that he held at Erfurt. God never goes away further than in front of your front door, okay? That wasn't perfect. I read them in German, okay? So, very privileged to be able to read these classic texts in German. But yeah, God never goes further away than your front door, okay? You just have to let it back in again. You just have to reconnect to that place within yourself, which is ultimately a place of surrender. And this is what I believe I will leave you with, is that your true purpose doesn't come from just you narcissistically and retardedly following your bliss and your highest excitement, because again, the trap is that you fall into ego, but it comes from surrender to what God wants you to do, your higher self, what comes out when you get rid of the small self and what naturally flows from there. And the other thing, and this is something I'm just going to hint at because I'm still in kind of the beginning stages of practicing this myself, but a beautiful book that I've come across in recent times is The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. And his version of surrender, which kind of actually gave me a completely different view of what surrender could also mean, is that he would just completely look, not even have any plans or any goals of his own, but literally just look at what life is asking him to do right in front of him, okay? And no matter what the voice in his head said, what his ego said, he was just gonna go do it, okay? So, for example, he wanted to just drop out and become a fucking meditator after an enlightenment experience that he had, but life just kept pushing him to, in the beginning, teach at college. At first even, I think, write his thesis or something like that, but then even teach at college, become a spiritual teacher, host meditation retreats, later even build $1 billion company, okay? And his ego, every fucking step of the way, was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But the beautiful thing that he describes after he made the commitment to surrender to the flow of life is that if you make the decision to not listen to what your ego says and instead go with what life is asking you to do, the way things happen for him are, it's as miraculous, even more miraculous, because I mean, he just fucking lived longer, so more shit could happen to him probably. I'll see what happens to me, right? I don't fucking know. Maybe I'll go to hell again, okay? Probably gonna happen. I mean, ups and downs in all of our journeys, but in any case, what happened to him is like pretty fucking cool, okay? And I recommend that book to anyone. Again, the nuance I would say is that there is something to also you tapping into from within you what you want to do. And he says that in the book, actually, okay? So there is also things that you just naturally feel inspired to do. And that also, I believe strongly, is a message from God, your higher self. You can just call it your true fucking purpose. Probably would have clicked off if you don't like that language by now. But what you truly feel inspired to do, what you truly love, is one of the big indicators of what you're supposed to be doing. Along with that, also what life is asking you to do. Again, I'm just kind of fucking starting with this. Okay, we'll see where it takes me. I'm kind of on a surrender experiment myself right now. Life asked me to do YouTube videos, okay, to make almost 40-minute rants in the forest, all right? The YouTube videos are getting longer again. I fucking love this, okay? Last one I was disappointed. It was only 25 minutes, okay? My rants weren't long enough anymore, okay? I lost the practice. I lost the Holy Spirit. Anyway, okay? So bliss, actually, okay, bliss, here's how you find your life purpose, okay? Bliss, surrender to what life is asking you to do, and what are you fucking terrified to do. To sum up, if you want to find your life purpose, that is literally it. What you love to do, what life is asking you to do. Again, read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And number 2, and releasing your personal desires and resistances. That's the key, okay? Seeing what life is asking you to do and getting rid of your personal desires and resistances and just going with the flow. And number 3, what are you fucking terrified to do, okay? The classic example for most men, approach girls, okay? That's something I'm working on myself right now, fucking cold approach, okay? And I mean, if you just followed your bliss, okay, and you also didn't I call it following your terror, literally what you're the most afraid of doing, as long as it's irrational, obviously, don't just fucking jump off a cliff without a parachute. You're supposed to be scared of that. But if it's irrational, that's what you want to follow, okay? And I remember probably the hottest girl that I approached so far. It's fucking hilarious how these things are. It's almost mythological the way they worked out, because she even I was there with my buddy and he was like, dude, that girl, holy shit, you know. He's like, fuck, I gotta do it, you know. And she actually was going underground. This is like literally a classic mythological motif where the hero has to go underground into the cave to slay the dragon, right? Which was literally what was happening in that moment. So she goes underground to the metro in Munich, and I approach her, and that was fucking scary, okay? But after that, I felt fucking elated. So that's what you can also tell your part of your true purpose is what are you irrationally scared of, and you maybe feel fucking incredible after, okay? So what do you feel incredible while doing, following your bliss? What do you, not hedonistically, but what do you feel truly called to do in terms of just your natural interests, your natural excitements? What is life asking you to do outside of your personal desires and resistances? And a part of that is following your fucking terror, okay? What you're the most scared to do. Because if you expand beyond your edge, as David Deida would call it, that is where your real growth also happens. So I hope that my rants about my story and what this was again really meant to be doing is to illustrate what can happen on the good side and on the bad side, okay? So I hope that this, on the one hand, didn't discourage you too much from following your bliss, okay, from following your purpose. Things can get bad, but again, like I said, from my experience, there's redemption for anyone. So you can do that. Crime and Punishment, funny enough, I also read Crime and Punishment during that time, which really hit the hammer on the head for me. And that one, then there being redemption for everyone. But anyway, that's going to be an entire different video. But I hope that this encouraged you to follow your purpose, to also maybe not make the mistakes that I made, but to hopefully trust that you are, in fact, if you stay tapped in to what you are truly supposed to do, even though things look fucking impossible and you have no money and no fucking idea and nobody who's supporting you even, because I was totally alone in the first 6 months of me starting my coaching business, also with almost no success. Funny enough, I got the first client really quickly. He also got, funny enough, almost the best results, I would say, out of anyone, like my first ever client. But anyway, after that 6 months, almost nothing, just fucking kept bashing my head against the wall until I met my mentor, Valentin. Again, shout out. You probably won't see this, but anyway, still shout out. You know, he deserves it, even though this probably won't help him at all, but he still deserves it, okay? So even if nobody fucking supports you in the beginning, you're supported, okay? No money, no supporters, no nothing. As long as you stay tapped in, you can do what you're being asked to do from there. And it's this kind of funny balance between what you're asked to do, what the ego is asked to do, but what you at your core truly want to do. And the more that you connect to this, I believe, and I have experienced, the more amazing, the more miraculous, to be honest, your life becomes. So I hope that I could give you a glimpse of this. I hope that I encouraged you to follow this path. If it's something that calls to you, you probably wouldn't be watching this anymore if it didn't. And I think your life will get fucking amazing. And I'll see you in the next video.